Hello, this is Professor Barry, and I hope that you all are doing well. I apologize for being late with this video. I've had quite a cold this week, and I'm just regaining my voice. I still sound a little low and a little nasal, so please forgive me for sounding like this. But we are in Module 4, Week 4 this week, the week beginning November 6th. We're talking about interpersonal and intercultural relationships or communication this week. Make sure that you go on and do your week 4 discussion. A few of you have gone on and you've done excellent work. Please make sure that you are engaging your classmates. Some of you are just posting and you're not engaging your classmates. Please make sure that you talk to each other, talk about what they've posted, engage the reading as well. On your discussion board for week 4, you have a TED Talk video. It's not very long. I want you to watch the video first and then comment on how we can avoid miscommunication. I want you to give examples in your week 4 discussion post, okay? So make sure that you complete the week 4 discussion and make sure that's done and respond to another classmate by, by Sunday night at 11:59. Okay, so for week 4, you also have another assignment that I want you to pay close attention to, and that is an intercultural communication assignment. If you look on your section for Module 4, Week 4, you'll see it says intercultural assignment, and then under there it says intercultural questions. You are to use those questions under intercultural questions. You're going to use those questions in your interview with someone who is not of the same culture as you. So you will interview a person who has a different culture than yours. And this is an exercise to help us communicate with people who are different from us. And then I want you to open up that dialogue with that person and ask those questions. And in a page to 2 pages, make sure it's double spaced. You're going to answer all of the questions that I have for you under intercultural questions in Module 4, Week 4, okay? I do have to say, pay close attention to your spelling and your grammar and capitalization issues. I'm seeing a lot of sloppy work with the things that we're turning in. We're in college, so you have to make sure that you read over your work for errors. And I hope you enjoy this assignment, the intercultural assignment, and that you make new friends and that we kind of stretch out from our own cultures and continue to learn about new cultures and also learn how to communicate with them. This week we're going to talk about interpersonal communication. And interpersonal communication is communication that occurs within an interpersonal relationship. That could be partners or husband and wife. It could be between friends, best friends. That's what we mean by interpersonal relationships. These are people that we see on some type of basis. And we need interpersonal relationships. No man or no woman is an island. We need people. We all have a need to be included. We have needs for affection. And we were not created to be by ourselves all of the time, right? And I know sometimes it's good to be by ourselves, but we cannot be by ourselves all the time. Relationships do give positive sides, but also there are some negatives where it could be obsession. We have many misunderstandings, and that's where communication comes in, conflicts, and sometimes there is abuse. In interpersonal relationships, we have to know how much to disclose or to share or to communicate about ourselves. And that's called self-disclosure. And sometimes sometimes when you first meet someone and they open up too much about themselves in an interpersonal relationship, it causes the other person to shut down because they're not quite sure where that's going so fast. So you have to be careful about opening up and sharing intimate details about yourself so quickly with starting new relationships. We know that communication in a relationship is very important, and relationships develop over time. And in each phase, communication is a part of that. And if you see in the book and also on the PowerPoint, it talks about stages of relational development and bonding and things like that. But also, it takes work to maintain the relationship. So there's also maintenance that needs to be done, just like you do for your car, right? There is maintenance that needs to be done for every relationship. It could be the relationship with your parents. We still have to build and work on our relationships. And in every aspect, communication is there. Relationships, as they build, they can also be torn apart. And that's deteriorating relationships, where there's differentiating, kind of pushing apart, circumscribing. Stagnating means that we're just kind of stuck in one point. Avoiding, where you don't want to be around that person. And terminating the relationship is when you walk away from it. Maybe there's a divorce or separation, or you just no longer see that friend anymore. Okay, so in terms of relationships, I want you to think about a relationship that you have had over the past few years. And maybe you're no longer in that relationship anymore, right? What made you terminate that relationship? I want you to think about that to yourself. Perhaps, and I'm pretty sure, communication had something to do with it. Maybe the person did not communicate like you wanted them to. Maybe it was abusive communication. Or perhaps there was too little communication, okay? Or false communication, lies and things like that. So we want to always pay attention to how communication is playing a part into our interpersonal relationships. And I think we're going to be better for that. And in chapter 7, we talked about intercultural relationships. In this world that we live in, we know that it's not just one culture. The beauty of it is, and in our country that we live in, the beauty is that we have so many different cultures that mesh and work together daily. And that's the good thing about America. So I want you to think a little bit about studying intercultural communication. Why do you think that we should even study it? It's always good to be exposed to different cultures and co-cultures. We belong to a culture. Everyone in this group, myself included, we belong to a culture, but we also belong to co-cultures. And those are little subcultures within the culture. So yes, I'm African American, but also maybe a subculture under that would be I'm an African American woman. Okay. Another reason why we should study intercultural communication is in this country that we live in, America, immigration and different views have shaped America. And so we should also be open to listening and exploring different cultures that make up the world that we live in. Okay? A little bit more I want to go into when we talk about intercultural communication. I want you to think of a time when you may have felt marginalized, where you may not have been the dominant person in the area. What strategies did you use to influence someone with an advantage over you? And I asked that question, that's on one of the PowerPoints that we have, with groups that are marginalized, that may not be dominant. They may be feeling a struggle for power, or feeling less than, or feeling, maybe not feeling important. And sometimes those things can come out in terms of their communication. All right? I want to talk about a few things before we end today in terms of intercultural communication. And one key thing, actually two things I want to bring up before we go, are stereotypes and ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the belief that one group is better than another. And stereotyping is saying everybody in that group is like that. And we know that those two things are not good practices to do at all. Stereotyping lumps people into a group that may not be fair. We can never say that everybody does something. We just don't know everybody, and that's just not true for all. And ethnocentrism says that one group is higher or superior than another. And that's not a good thing to do either. We were all created to be wonderful human beings. And oftentimes sometimes you can see those things played out in someone's communication. So I want you to notice when you do the reading for this week, and when you also interact with your person from a different culture, when you do the assignment, pay attention to thoughts that we may have had about certain groups and try to manage those conflicts. Try to have that open mind. And when we talk about intercultural communication, that simply means that we're learning about different cultures, learning how they communicate as opposed to how we may want them to communicate. Okay. All right. We will soon start talking about our final project. And if you want to, you can scroll all the way down to kind of like the bottom of our class page, and you will see some examples and directions there. And I just can't believe that we'll be heading into week 5 next week. So I hope to be feeling much better and that you won't hear this sound anymore. And I hope that you all have a very, very blessed day. Bye-bye.